Very familiar with this year if you've been keeping up with the regional action. Two-time regional champion Piper Lepine playing this Lost Zone box deck, paired with a partner we don't see a lot, though, in that Radiant Charizard.
Yeah, so she's playing a version of the deck that's not quite what we're used to seeing. We've seen Turbo Bills, we've seen Kyogre. Sableye, Charizard are two really strong Pokemon in this Lost Zone engine deck that it was pretty decent at the European International Championships, kind of fell out of favor for a lot of players. Piper decided, hey, here at the end of the format in Fresno, I'm going to give it one last run and see how it does against the other Lost Box decks in the field.
And Alex Mcneill playing that Mew VMAX deck, one we're also very familiar with the double turbo energy. So really looking for this consistency option. You're not playing as many of those cards like Fusion Strike Energy you can't thin out of your hand. Let's see how this matchup plays out. So we're looking at the prize cards here. Anything super relevant to look at? Colress, you never want to see that card in the prize cards. You always want that early on. And a few copies of the Battle VIP Pass could be crucial in setting up.
Yeah, it's a card that you don't mind having in the prizes as long as you can still find one early on. And that's going to be the real question for Alex Mcneill. Is he able to find that early Battle VIP Pass? He did also prize a tech supporter there, that one copy of Avery. Certainly something that can come up okay against some of the Lost Zone builds. I don't think it's going to be great against Piper's deck necessarily, so not something he'll mind to see in the prizes.
Looks like we're going to have a good game set up here. Piper's one of these players where she's sort of on the bubble. Of course, when you win 2 regionals, you get a lot of those championship points for top 16. So a solid finish here could be what she needs. That would be crazy to say, though. 3-time regional champion just this season. Yes. That would be an unprecedented feat.
Yeah, Piper is currently sitting at 17th place in the North American standings. So 1 point away from a top 16 berth and an automatic day 2 invite to the World Championships. But here it is. Our game is underway. Alex Mcneill with the first turn.
I think we're going to see a big flip here. Cramomatic getting rid of this power tablet. There's nothing else in this hand. Alex has got to flip heads to try and get this going, and a big heads flip can get out that Battle VIP Pass and get things rolling.
Super strong, able to get any single card out of the deck at this point. Going to take a moment to check the prizes. I think that's why we probably see a double turbo energy coming to the front. Whenever you only play 4 energy cards, it's pretty easy to check to see how many you have prized.
Of course, making sure of those resources here. So it is going to be this Lost Zone matchup paired with the Radiant Charizard, so you don't have that explosive power of the Vs, but as a deck that is a 3-prize deck, playing against Lost Zone, trying to sort of get an edge in the prize race, what is this real MVP here for Alex when it comes to attackers to utilize?
So Alex might not know exactly what Piper has yet. She's sitting with a Comfey in the active, and that could be many different things. It could be Turbo Box, it could be, of course, Kyogre, it could be Sableye Charizard, it even could be something like the Hisuian Gudra V-Star, right? So there's still a lot of questions in Alex's mind. So on this early turn, he's probably just going to play it as safe as possible. I don't even know if there's much that he's able to play down from this opening hand. I think there was a couple Judge there and Path to the Peak and a Mew VMAX for those last 4 cards. So not really anything that they're going to be able to play in order to draw cards with the Genesec's Fusion Strike system here.
Well, perfect supporter next turn in Judge, and like you said, nothing else can be played. Path to the Peak does shut down your own Fusion system, so passing the turn back over to Piper. Probably looking to echo what Alex did, get some Battle VIP Pass, put them into play. Nest Ball is a great way to search through the deck, see what cards you have available, and potentially get some more of these Comfey into play. Start getting these flower selecting chains going.
And right away, Piper does eye up that Pidgeot V with its Vanishing Wings ability. You can always just pop it from the field right back into the deck. And her eyeing this up might signal to me that she's got that Forest Sealstone in hand. It could also just be her taking a moment to check her prize cards, see what Pokemon are available. That's kind of one of the first things a lot of people count is their Pokemon line, so they know exactly which Pokemon are in the prizes, which ones they have available. But off this Nest Ball, could see that Comfey come down, and if that Forest Sealstone is an option, it looks like Pidgeot V might be the choice.
Pidgeot the choice, and this is sort of where you have a little bit of a back and forth. Of course, turn 1, you want to play Battle VIP Pass and get down, but since you're going second, you can also play a supporter card. If you're Piper, what do you really favor going for? The consistency of just getting Colress and trying to find Pokemon off those 5 cards, or do you maybe wait here and flower selecting and evaluate your options?
Well, the question is going to be dependent on what happens off of flower selecting, so that's why she's going for it now. Use that flower selecting, see what the choices are. I see a Nest Ball and something else. Looks like Nest Ball hits the Lost Zone. That one card grabbed was what, Ethan?
It's got to be something important if it's not
switch
like
cards.
Another switching card here. So we'll put it to 2 flower selectings, 2 cards in the Lost Zone, and has to keep that key card. We haven't even mentioned it yet. Piper is playing that Drapion V, and Forest Sealstone able to get a card out. And this is sort of the dynamic we have to decide. Of course, Drapion can essentially take 3 prizes against this Mew VMAX, 2 at minimum, as long as there's not something like Path to the Peak in play. But it is a liability. You are trading 2 for 2, and of course you can put yourself in that Roxanne range, which can be risky.
Yeah, holding off on... It's an interesting choice of what Piper wants to go for, right? Could take a prize right now. Just go ahead, go in with the Drapion. That would be super risky, though, as it is just going to be a 2-prize liability. You're going to get judged. But if you wait to use that Drapion, you do open yourself up to getting Roxanne. It does look like Colress was the grab off that Forest Sealstone. And now 5 cards being looked up, 2 going to the Lost Zone, 3 to the hand, 1 card automatically grabbed to go to the hand. And it looks like that Mawile and a Hisuian Heavy Ball hitting the Lost Zone there.
Piper now at 4 cards in the Lost Zone means Cramorant can utilize
Very
that
good.
Spit Innocently Lost Provisions, allowing it to attack for 0 energy. As long as there are 4 cards in the Lost Zone, and a smart choice there from Piper. Doesn't want to leave that Pidgeot V in the position on the bench, can still be brought up with Boss's Orders using Vanishing Wings, and that's why it's in the deck. Use your Star Power, which this deck usually doesn't have access to, and then put this card right back in the deck to make it safe.
Attachment for turn to the active Comfey, retreating into Cramorant. Now Spit Innocently, 110 damage to the active Mew. Alex Mcneill with the top deck of a Feather Ball. Going to play it right away as well. Probably eyeing up another VMAX. Does have one in hand, though, so could even just get another Mew V here to put it into play.
Yeah, Psychic Leap is something that's super important in this matchup.
Sure.
And I have to imagine Alex would like to utilize that this turn. Did mention Judges in hand, and that's a great way to disrupt exactly what Piper chose off those previous turns with the Flower Selecting. The question is, do you evolve this active? Do you try and maybe use Max Miracle at the bench? What are you really looking to attack with this turn?
Yeah, if Alex can pull off the Psychic Leap, it would be super strong. But in order to do it, he would need to find 2 Power Tablets in order to get to the damage necessary to hit for 110 to knock out this Cramorant. So he does choose to evolve the active, so we know kind of what the line is that they want to go for here. Now I think the debate is, do you Judge first or do you Fusion Strike System for 2 cards first? And I think I like this decision to go with the Judge. See what you get off your supporter and then make the plays you need to make.
Like something like Ultra Ball would be great to find. You can get that 3rd Genesect V into play. And having 2 Mew V on the bench is smart because if you do Psychic Leap, that Pokemon goes back into the deck. And if you leave yourself with just 1 Mew, it invites your opponent to really utilize Drapion. And the problem, Drapion gets out of hand when you can utilize it and your opponent doesn't have a way to respond back to it.
And that's the thing about Alex having to use a couple Power Tablets here, is those are less ways to later on in the game respond to the potential Drapion V. Off the 4 cards, looks like there's a pretty decent amount of stuff to work with here, Ethan.
Yeah, 2 Nest Balls, so this first one probably just going to fail.
Yeah.
Thin that out of the hand, and that's
Very
sort of
smart.
one of the problems with Nest Ball. Quick Ball was a great way to not only find your Pokemon, but you could always play it down to thin cards out. Sometimes it feels like with this deck, you're just stuck with a bunch of Nest Ball and can't play them. They feel like Battle VIP Pass in your hand.
Yeah, pretty smart from Alex there to fail the first one, then play the second one, wanting to make sure that he's able to draw as many cards as possible by burning as many cards out of the hand as possible. No Power Tablets found yet. Did find Double Turbo Energy here, though.
Has that Cramomatic? I think interesting choice. Do you just play this other Feather Ball, put another Mew VMAX into play? Or do you try and hold on to this Lost Vacuum? I mean, Path to the Peak is a card that, on the surface, doesn't really seem great. You don't shut down any of these Comfey abilities, but you got to remember, Radiant Charizard later down the line, Drapion V is, again, that wild-style ability. Could be something Alex wants to prioritize saving down the line.
So Alex is able to evolve one of these Mew V. I think that was the question there from our players. Which of these Mew V was the one that was in play last turn? We get one of them evolved up, so second Mew V Max down into play. Alex is sitting on the Cramomatic, but shuffling the deck makes me think he's going to draw cards first, see what he gets, and I think this is smart, right? There's a higher number of Power Tablets in the deck currently, wants to increase his chance to just draw one here, and what do you know?
Just as you said, Power Tablet can be played. I think might want to play the Cramomatic first, just see if it's really worth, because sort of playing this one Power Tablet doesn't have a lot of effect if you're not playing both of them together.
Yep, really smart sequencing here. Going to be a pretty big flip, though. Let's see if he can get it. 2 for 2 on the turn. Does hit a heads, now can grab any single card out of the deck. And if I was a betting man, I would definitely go with the Power Tablet being, ooh, I think I would have lost that bet, because it looks like...
I don't know if I trust you with my resources if you're betting away.
Yeah. Looking like it could be the Path to the Peak, which would honestly be a pretty interesting grab here. Try to shut down that Drapion from just coming in and taking 3 prizes. That might be what he's thinking through.
I think the idea here is while Psychic Leap would remove the damage off the Mew, what is really threatening knocking this Mew out this turn besides something like Drapion? Is it the same thing to have 110 damage on this than it would be to have 110 damage? Now, sure, if we later down the line, Radiant Charizard can attack for less, but it is actually going to be the Power Tablet, and Alex is going to go for this play, try and play it as safe as possible early on, and can still draw some cards here with Fusion Strike System.
Yeah, I think this is overall the best play to go for. Nothing super great off that draw from the last Fusion Strike System. Ultra Ball can find this Mew VMAX next turn, which we assume is going to be shuffled in with that Psychic Leap. Of course, Cross Fusion Strike copying the ability, or the, attacks of any Pokemon on the bench. throwing that damaged Pokemon right back into the deck. And now Piper with 2 Comfeys and only 4 cards to work with. What's she going to try to piece together this turn? We'll have to see.
UV in the active, so that's only a 2-prize Pokemon. If Piper wants to try to utilize the Drapion, this is sort of the cat and mouse game back and forth. When do you utilize this card? But a big find there off the flower selecting. Finds Colress's Experiment. And again, looks like the Drapion potentially one of the choices there, so that will 100% be the grab. What are these other cards you take? I feel like you want the Fire Energy later down the line. You, of course, want to have access to Comfey. What can you afford to Lost Zone away?
That is the big question here. Now, something Piper might have going through her mind here is that pretty often these days, Mew VMAX decks are not playing Lost City. In the previous format before rotation, Lost City was an extremely popular inclusion. We've seen it pop up a little bit more here and there in the Mew VMAX decks, so if Piper can just get a 2-prize hit in with her Drapion, and then Alex does not play Lost City, can Clara back that Drapion later on, take another 2 or 3 prizes, try to close out the game with Radiant Charizard bossing a Genesect. That might be her line here.
Nest Ball being played. There's still another Cramorant in the deck. That could be selected out. Piper does have 8 cards in the Lost Zone, so if there's something like a Lost Vacuum, that could put her up to 10.
Yeah.
And this Genesect was brought into the active. Alex could not take the risk of putting this Mew VMAX into the active, inviting a Drapion to hit it for over 300 damage and take the knockout.
So Nest Ball will be grabbing that Sableye. Piper, like you said, needing 2 more cards in the Lost Zone, does only play 1 Lost Vacuum here, so would be a pretty fortunate draw if she had access to it, but it looks like it will just be a pass. And this does put a little pressure on Alex, right? The Escape Rope sending up the Genesect, that was what he was forced to send up, like you mentioned. Now he has to find a way to get it out of the active spot.
Plenty of ways to thin the handout. Does have multiple copies of Ultra Ball, and there's no better way to draw cards in the format than Fusion Strike System for 6. So we'll see the choices. I think Battle BIP Pass is an interesting one. Does have the copy of Penny, but this is sort of one of those choices of, I think maybe do you just draw a little bit more cards, but you at least have that guaranteed option if you need to get this out of the active this turn.
Yeah, Penny is a solid fallback. Really a good tech against something like Piper's deck where we see that she plays the Mawile. Now, Alex doesn't have to worry about it for this game as Mawile has hit the Lost Zone. No way for it to come back from there. But something that he'll have to keep in mind. Penny, a great answer there.
There's not a lot of other cards that can be played out. This Lost Vacuum cannot thin any stadium cards or whatnot, but a great grab there finds both Force Sealstone and Judge to disrupt the hand, and that might be what Alex needs to pretty much secure this, as long as either the double Turbo Energy can be found or one of these switching cards that are still in the deck are available.
Yeah, 2 pieces missing at this point. I think he's debating whether or not to play Judge before drawing. You could see he was tapping a coin, thinking about placing the marker to use just a draw for 1 card since that Penny was in hand. I think that was kind of what was going through his mind. So now, off this Judge is going to need to find a switching card and a double Turbo Energy in order to pull off an attack. And I wonder as well if a Power Tablet with a Psychic Leap could be another option.
Of course, Comfey only having 70 HP, so that 50 damage with the reduction of the double Turbo from Psychic Leap, is that possible? Thinking about playing Chromatic, but does find this Escape Rope, and that will be the guaranteed pivoting option for Sealstone if needed. Can provide the ability to search out that double Turbo Energy, and we've still got 2 more Fusion Strike systems to use. Alex pretty much just looking for double Turbo and finds that off the first card. Has got everything he needs, even Path to the Peak as well, if he wants to keep this Mew VMAX in the active spot and try and hope that Piper doesn't have Drapion plus Counter Stadium to take some prizes.
Yeah, Alex has got just about everything rolling that he needs. I do want to point out something really smart that Piper did last turn, though. She chose to bench this Sableye. She knew she wasn't going to use it this turn. She knew she couldn't get 10 cards in the Lost Zone, but it was for a reason exactly like this. She has 2 Comfey in her Lost Zone, so if she only had the 2 Comfey in play and Alex played Escape Rope, she would be forced to send up a Comfey, forced to let that go down and get knocked out. Now she only has 1 Comfey to work with for the rest of the game. So she's choosing to put that Sableye down, knows it's going to get knocked out, so that she can protect her draw power in this flower selecting.
An interesting choice from Alex, utilizing Max Miracle to take the knockout, but not putting Path to the Peak in play. Is this a turn for Piper where she wants to use Drapion to take these prize cards?
Yeah, that is going to be the big question. I mean, Piper is kind of sitting at a spot where she needs to start doing something pretty soon. Now, she's going to get to Sableye this turn most likely, but as 1 hits the Lost Zone, we know 1 is in the discard pile. The question is she going to be able to find the card to pull off the attack? She does play 3 copies of the card. Looks like she will have to be forced to use Clara here, though, to get back Sableye in order to pull off the attack.
Does have the switch card in hand, so we will see Sableye be able to put into the active, and this comes the question for Piper. Alex is on a 4-turn clock to win. Very easy to get knockouts, very easy to put attacks together. You've got to pretty meticulously put your damage counters in the exact place you want. you're playing around with 3 prize and 2 prize Pokemon. That's not going to add to 6 evenly. How do you try to route these knockouts together to win this game?
That is the question here. And she's got Sableye, and it looks like Cramorant's going to be coming in for the first hit. The problem here is what we saw earlier on, though. Spit innocently puts 110 damage down, but then Alex just has an opportunity to go for a potential Psychic Leap. It does make it a little harder here now because Alex is down 2 Power Tablets, and he's got 2 Mew VMAX in play. So the damage on this Mew V is actually pretty likely to stick around. So I like this decision from Piper. Go for the Spit innocently and prep that Sableye on the
This
bench.
is one of the risks when you evolve both of these Mew VMAX is you put yourself in a spot where you've got to keep one available for Psychic Leap. So Alex maybe trying to draw more cards by evolving could have slightly backfired. Now having to retreat, and this is sort of, as you said, if you evolve this Mew VMAX, it means Drapion is more than likely to take the knockout there, and then prizes are easy to be taken on the last couple of turns. But it is going to just be the boss's orders, retreating into this Mew VMAX, bringing Sableye up, understanding that Lost Mine, a very viable option to take 2 prizes the following turn. And very simple game plan here for Alex. Bring this up, Max Miracle, not drawing any more cards with Fusion System, going down to 3 prize cards. Piper has yet to take any so far in this game.
Yeah, Piper needs to start making something happen here, and it was really smart there last turn from Alex to take the knockout on this Sableye. He knew Piper didn't have another one in hand because she used Clara to get that one back, put it down, attach the energy. So Alex not only kind of got rid of that Sableye, but also just negated the supporter that Piper played almost completely.
And I think Raihan is the only option. Can play that, put the energy on this active Comfey, so it can now switch out of the deck. Is this your turn where you have to go with Drapion? And it feels a little bit too late because where are the 3 prizes routed after this knockout?
Yeah, and the thing is if you go with the Drapion, it makes it easier theoretically for Alex to close out the game, right? Just take a one-hit knockout on the Drapion, then you just have 1 prize card left in order to close things out. Let's see what the grab was here for Piper off of that Raihan, and sure enough, Ethan, it is Drapion, that wild style ability reducing the cost of Dynamic Tail, so it will be able to get a knockout here on this Mew VMAX.
Playing the beach court, keeping this Comfey, and we see these cards not relevant in this matchup, just getting played down. Manaphy to the bench, and there it is, Dynamic Tail, 380 damage, taking the knockout onto this Mew VMAX. But really, this opens up a lot of options now for Alex. Piper is in Roxanne range. That can disrupt the hand, and Forest Sealstone can still be used.
Big flip here on Cramomatic once again. Can Alex go 3 for 3 in this game? 2 heads so far. Let's see if this next one can come through as well. Not this time. It will be a tails. You have to imagine that was going to go for Roxanne.
Does already have double turbo, Path to the Peak, and can even play something like the Switch card to heal some of the damage off of that benched Mew V. The pieces are there. Roxanne, Path, Attack, take the knockout. The one thing that is missing, though, is that damage modifier. A lot of those power tablets were played earlier on, but Alex is playing 2 copies of that Choice Belt, card that's only good in this matchup against Drapion V.
Yeah, Choice Belt going to be a card Alex definitely wants to find here. Power Tablet gets the job done as well, but I think you'd rather use Choice Belt when you can get value from it on a Pokemon V. Alex just going to draw, I think, 1 single card here on Fusion Strike System, and that's not something you're going to be able to do anything with a Battle VIP Pass.
The question here is, do you just use this star power? Do you go for it? Do you grab Roxanne? I feel like there's nothing else you want to do. At least play that card. You have Path in the hand, and surely enough, Alex bringing that to the top of the deck. Seems like this is pretty much a game-winning strategy to try to close this out. I mean, Piper would need a plethora of cards to get this. Counter Stadium, Clara. That's still pretty difficult to do. You've got 2 cards to find, and a lot of those resources are gone. Yeah.
1 Clara already being down, only 1 remaining in the deck. It is definitely possible, but if Alex can combine Roxanne with Path to the Peak, that just makes it 1 more piece Piper has to try to find on the next turn. Sure enough, Roxanne being played, both players shuffling in. Piper only going to have access now to 2 single cards. Alex does still need a piece here, though. Still needs to find that Choice Belt or a Power Tablet in order to get this KO.
And that was the reason for not playing Path to the Peak in the hand already. If that Cramomatic flipped heads, it was a very easy decision. Play the Choice Belt, play Path, play Roxanne, but Alex still has 2 Fusion Strike systems, will get 6 cards off this Roxanne. I feel like I've been testing a new format, playing Iono, a very similar effect, and I feel like I've got to build my hand back up because I've only got 2 cards in hand. But Alex, 6 to work with, still does have a copy of the Power Tablet, has 2 copies of Choice Belt. Surely enough, finds that, but still has to find something like this Path to the Peak. Can play the Pal Pad, thin a card out of the hand, but nothing else can be played from here.
can attach an energy as well, I believe, right? This, or no,
No,
did this one get attached this turn?
Yeah, he psychic leaps before.
Okay.
I think, yeah, no, because it got knocked out with Drapion the previous turn. So the energy's been played down. It's going to be a Fusion Strike system for 2 and a prayer and a dream here to try to find this path to peak. Otherwise, I mean, what, do you knock this out and just hope your opponent doesn't have Clara?
It's what you got to do.
Might be your only route, but it's a lot less of a successful one.
It is a lot less likely. Playing every card out that he can now with that Pal Pad going down. Now just going to be 2 cards drawn on Fusion Strike system, and I think at minimum, hoping for a way to thin the hand down more. Maybe an Ultra Ball would be a good hit, right? Just get a couple of these cards out of the hand that you don't want anymore. Maybe even a Lost Vacuum to just get rid of this Forest Sealstone, thin a card out of your hand as well. I think we're just getting clarification on the energy attachment, which did happen already.
Okay, does find Forest Sealstone and Mew VMAX. So it sort of is a little bit of a risk if you want to evolve Mew VMAX into the Mew V, potentially
it would
something
have to
like
be the damaged one.
Yeah, and then the risk again, Radiant Charizard could potentially take a knockout on that, but you got to do what you got to do here.
Okay.
You got to give yourself the best chances to draw into Path. I think this is probably correct. Let's see
Last
it.
draw.
2 cards here. What
One
is it?
more.
No. Misses Path to peak, and I feel like you're on plan B now. Is it still just knock this Drapion out, or is there something else you can pull out of your bag of tricks here for Alex?
I mean, I think I like just knock out the Drapion. You've just given your opponent 2 cards. There's 2 Comfey in play, though, which makes things a little sketchy, but you just kind of have to do it and cross your fingers at this point. Piper is already down 1 Clara. Can she find her other copy in order to just clean this game up? That would be her most immediate path to victory.
Nothing helping out there, and this hand is not looking great. Can play Fog Crystal, thin this out. Is there even a Clara available? I'm not sure I even see it as an option. Oh, there is that one.
Yeah, it still has the Clara, and I think she also has a Boss's Orders in hand. So if she could find Radiant Charizard plus a Fire Energy, that's also a way to close it out, right? Boss's Orders KO that Mew VMAX. I think the problem is, though, is that she only gets 1 card off of Flower Selecting coming up here, and the only piece of that puzzle I saw in her hand was Boss, so can't take 2 cards. Might be a tough spot here for Piper.
Well, it's going to be another Flower Selecting. Did retreat for turn. It's going to have to be 2 miraculous cards. I don't even think we can't find Clara because you still need the pivoting option. It is going to be that Radiant Charizard, but I think it might just be play this Boss's Orders, bring Genesect up, but it's so hard when your opponent didn't path themselves, so they're going to have Fusion Strike system online. And there's still a lot of options. And yeah, it's just going to be a pass over. Is there a way to retreat this? There's another double turbo energy. Even had the penny in hand as well to retreat and pick it up. And Alex, winning a game that looked in his favor. Piper had a chance there to possibly close it out, but showing us that when Mew attacks every turn, when it can remove this damage off with Psychic Leap, it's hard to really route these prizes in this matchup when you don't have big attackers or things like Aqua Storm to close things out.
Yeah, pretty strong showing there from Alex. I think he did everything the way he needed to, was able to close that one out. Piper, on the other hand, I maybe would have liked to have seen a little bit more aggression in that game. There was a couple openings where she could have just taken 2 prizes with the Drapion. You still get strong value from it. You put yourself on a little bit more of a clock, but you're able to work in some more pieces with that Clara to get back the Drapion and use it again and again. And I think maybe the reason she didn't do that is because she was worried about a potential Lost City coming in. But I wonder if she'll take the information she's gained from Game 1. She did not see a Lost City. Alex went through almost their entire deck. Pretty unlikely now at this point that Alex plays it, right?
It's the risk you take when you're playing in a closed deckless situation. You don't have all that information. It's not 100% guaranteed. And like you said, if Piper takes a knockout, a 2-prize knockout with Drapion, and Alex does play Lost City down, I could even say that's almost game-losing sometimes for Piper in a lot of game scenarios.
Could be. We'll see here what happens in game number 2. Just about 20 minutes gone, 22 minutes gone from the clock. So a pretty long game 1, to be honest. We'll see if Piper usually plays pretty quickly. I wonder if she'll pick up her pace even more in this one, recognizing the situation.
Sure, Piper will like to start things off. This double turbo Mew deck doesn't really like to go second. It can play one of those supporter cards like Judge, and both players showing got no basic Pokemon.
Yep.
No more information there for Piper with that hand. Alex's list is pretty straightforward. We saw how this deck functions. It's very to the point. Attack with Mew VMAX. Utilize the few attackers. And this deck has come a long way. I remember when this deck played a whole bunch of different attackers to play. Latias. And of course, the Fusion deck still plays a little bit more variety, but it's tried and true. You copy Max Miracle, you copy Techno Blast, and you copy Psychic Leap. And with Path to the Peak and Judge, it's a winning strategy.
Without a doubt, straightforward, consistent, and powerful. Usually a recipe for success in the Pokemon TCG.
So both players still shuffling up. More time off the clock, like you said. Felt like it was a pretty quick match back and forth. Alex was just taking knockouts over and over again, but that's 25 minutes off the clock. 3 games. Definitely both these players don't want to take a tie this early on in the tournament. And okay.
Piper's opening hand is not very good. Starting the Manaphy, a couple Escape Rope, a couple Energy cards, and 2 Claire in the prizes, and Radiant Charizard. Oh no, Ethan, this one might be over quick.
Never like to say caster battles this early on in the stream so far, but Piper did top deck the Hisuian Heavy Ball, but all that gives you is a Radiant Charizard was maybe hoping one of those Comfey were hiding out in the prize cards to at least utilize Flower Selecting to get things going.
It does have that to at least get something going. Looks like it just has Sableye. I think Sableye was the top deck because I'm sure she would have rather started that than the Manaphy.
Over the Manaphy, right?
So drew the Sableye and has an energy in hand. Gonna choose to hold off on attaching anywhere and just pass. And Alex already has an infinitely better start with a Battle VIP pass.
Piper thinking to herself, can I just borrow that? Could I have used that on the first turn? But Alex setting things up perfectly. I think has Feather Ball in hand as well. So I like to see Alex grab more of these Genesects to start things off. It is one of the cards that are harder to search out. You're not playing the ability to get those with the Feather Ball. And again, taking time to search the deck, but this is what you're looking for. Get set up early, threaten those big attacks. Those attacks turn 2, and when your opponent's not doing a lot on their turn, I mean, what's the most Piper can do besides, I mean, committing to Drapion like we've talked about? It's just to hit with Cram, and even that seems difficult without any Flower Selectings being used.
I think Piper would be lucky to get to Cramorant on the next turn. That's like her best case scenario, to be honest, what she's going to be hoping for. Alex having an excellent start, though, does have that Feather Ball. As you mentioned, another Mew V coming into play. I do think Piper, did she have a Colress at least in that hand?
No,
that might have actually been her. It might have been her Mulligan that had a Colress in it. So
there's no. It's like double Escape Rope, Fire, Psychic Energy, and the Radiant Charizard from that Hisuian Heavy Ball. And if you're Alex, not really jumping up and down out of your seat to play something like Judge, your opponent didn't really play anything from their hand, but lots more to be dug here. Ultra Ball can find another Genesect V. Another Fusion Strike system can be used, and can even hold on to a piece like this Roxanne. Not wanting to play the Power Tablet to draw more cards, just understanding I want these resources later. Roxanne won me game number 1. I wanted to stick around later for game 2.
Alex made a pretty smart but subtle decision there on that turn. He debated for a second with his Ultra Ball to just get rid of the 2 item cards in hand. His hand was Power Tablet, Lost Vacuum, then the Roxanne, and the Boss. Chose to get rid of, after thinking about it for a moment, the Boss's orders. And I really like that decision because keeping Lost Vacuum around now gives you an item card that you can Cram-O-Matic away if you are to draw into one here.
Couple double Turbo Energy. Those are more than happy to come down, and there's not much else you need to do on this turn.
No,
You draw one more card with Fusion Strike system. You got your energy attachment down. You've got your Pokemon down. Do you play the Switch card? I think it's fine to go into this Mew V. You could even put the Mew V with the no energy on it since you do have the double Turbo. But it is just going to be a pass. There's not a lot of threatening it, but I mean, it is still a potential. What's the top deck? It's another Psychic Energy.
Jeez. Yeah, I like the decision from Alex to hold the Switch card just in case Piper plays an Escape Rope, right? If you Switch card into Mew V and she plays an Escape Rope, do you really want to send up another Mew V, right? So I think I like the decision to hold off there for just a moment. And when your opponent does nothing like Piper has done, if you're sitting in Alex's seat, you definitely just want to, you know, push your advantage. You want to take a knockout here, get as much going as you possibly can.
And a big draw there finds me VMAX, the Forest Seal Stone as well. Doesn't even need to utilize that this turn. Power Tablet was played, so even an option like Psychic Leap can leave this Mew VMAX out of harm's way, knock out the 70 HP Manaphy, getting rid of the Fan of Waves, not a useful card, not adding insult to injury. Does just still thin that out of the hand.
Yep.
And this last Fusion system can draw 2 more cards, but Alex has found everything he needs to. And Piper, again in top deck mode to try and keep up in this game.
Yeah, and I don't even know. Like, Piper's best top deck is definitely just getting Colress's Experiment, but even then, what 3 cards could she add to her hand that realistically even help her here? Draw for turn. What is it? It is a Comfey. Okay, so we're going to get to look at the top 2. Flower Selecting, here we go.
Peach Court, and it is
It's
Colress.
a Colress. Okay. Try to get something cooking. Ooh, she does play that Defiance Band. That's an interesting tech.
Does add 30 damage if you are behind on prize cards, if you have more than your opponent. Don't know how much I'll see it coming up in this matchup. It does, again, boost Cramorant's damage, so can allow that Radiant Charizard as well to hit 250. And Hawlucha, not seeing a lot of use in this matchup, getting put to the Lost Zone. But what were those cards that were kept? I don't think there's anything here. Defiance Band, Boss's Orders, and one other card. Do you go back into the Sableye and just pass? I think that might be your only option.
I think that's what she's debating here. Do I really want to switch cart into this Sableye so that I can protect this Comfey? This Comfey is what she needs to stay around in this game, but this just opens up an easy escape rope for Alex.
We're going to see the scratch here for 20 damage.
Hey,
Sableye getting in here.
Damage is damage, okay? Damage is damage, and that's what you care about with a deck like Sableye, being able to get... You just want damage counters to be in place so you can work with them later on.
Alex, so much advantage, can go down to 4 prize cards here, guaranteed. Ultra Ball, thinning the hand out yet again. I feel like you can get rid of one of these Lost Vacuum. You still have your other 3 of them available down the line. It's just going to be that, hitting the discard pile with Ultra Ball. This can grab the Mew V. That was just put back. Did just attack this turn, so does have the Mew V to put into play. That now makes Psychic Leap a very reasonable option. And what else can we say? Things going perfectly for Alex. Not very much so for Piper, but that's the nature of Pokemon sometimes. That's what you sign up for when you play a card game.
Yeah, and Piper's a super smart player, right? So she's going to stick it out and see if she can find a way to claw back into this one. It seems very unlikely at this point, but hey, if there's a win condition, she's going to try to play to it.
Fusion Strike System Train starting up again. Does find that copy of Judge. Now, your opponent hasn't done a lot this game, but they did just select some cards off of the rocks, or off of that Colress's Experiment. Do you play that Judge, or do you dig for a different supporter like Boss? I feel like Comfey is what you want to knock out this turn.
I think I'm okay with playing the Judge because there's not much that's playable in this hand currently. The one thing you want here is Escape Rope, right? Boss would be nice, but Escape Rope accomplishes the same thing. It takes out the Comfey, and if you can Escape Rope plus Judge at the same time, that's actually just devastating for Piper's side. I mean, it devastates an already terrible start.
Bad stat. Yep, takes the Comfey out of play, puts you at 4 cards, and I think we're just understanding what happened here, but I think something just going to take a knockout with Technoblast, and if there's an opening for Piper back in this game, Alex has 4 prize cards left. There is no Path to Peak in play. If there's a way to utilize Drapion this turn, take the knockout, take 3 prize cards, that could be the potential, but I don't think there's anything to go in this hand. Oh, it does have another Colress actually, so can maybe look through that way, but it is potentially the Raihan, so I mean, right now Alex is at 4 prize cards, so the Excited Heart ability on Charizard allows us to attack for 2 energy less. So that would still mean that something like, I don't know, like a Mirage
this might just be Drapion here, honestly.
I think it's just going to be potentially the Drapion. Did actually find Nest Ball, and that's sort of a smart choice. You don't want to find that card later on in the game if your win condition now is to play to Clara to get Drapion out twice and attack with it.
And that really is, I think, becoming Piper's win condition here. Use the Drapion here, take 3 prizes. Alex has to go for the Roxanne, take the knockout on this Drapion with a Mew VMAX in the active, and then if Piper can find one of her 2 Clara, which, by the way, let's remember, they're both in the prizes. I do think that one is at the bottom of the prizes here, so she should take one here when she takes this 3 prize KO. Let's see which one she pulls out. 1, 2. Okay, so it does get 1 Clara, 1 stays in. So now her win condition is going to be off of the incoming Roxanne from Alex. Can she find Clara and a way to retreat the active Sableye, or the active Comfey that she'll send up?
It's got a 2-turn clock here. Alex will go down to 2 prize cards after taking this knockout. So there is a little bit of wiggle room. She could play something like Colress's Experiment to try and thin through the deck, draw some of those cards, try and find Clara, but this is what it comes down to. Alex still has to find some of these key pieces, did find the Power Tablet, so that will allow Drapion to fall to a Technoblast copied with Cross Fusion System. And starting it off well, Roxanne being played, and of course, let's not forget, Forest Seal Stone still in play that will guarantee one of those 2 pieces, and I would have to say Mew VMAX is the easier of the 2 to search out of the deck.
Yeah, can get the Mew VMAX, and also could throw Path to the Peak in play this turn. Has not played a Path yet this game, and when your opponent's only getting 2 cards, they're only going to have 1 flower selecting. Path is pretty strong whenever their win condition is pretty clear-cut going to be Drapion next turn. But this is not over, Ethan. I mean, from a seemingly unwinnable position, I mean, that's just the power of Drapion in the format right now when you're up against Mew VMAX. Piper is very much still in this game.
Does find that Mew VMAX Nest Ball as well. The choice here for Alex is, does he really value getting anything off of this Nest Ball? We do see the copy of the Manaphy in the hand. That is a card we talked about a little bit. I didn't think I'd see the day where Mew was playing Path, and I sure did not see the day where Mew was playing Manaphy now in this deck.
Yep, that's just the reaction to Kyogre absolutely dominating the tournament last weekend in Milwaukee, knowing that that is a super strong option to just close out the game. Kyogre, one of Kyogre's best matchups is Mew VMAX, but if they have Manaphy and they put it down at the right time at the end of the game, it can just be game-winning.
So Alex has already found everything. I think the only thing he's really looking for at this point is to not have to use this Forest Seal Stone, something like Path to the Peak. And I think the choice is, do you value this Escape Rope? And I don't feel like you value it over Path to the Peak. And looks like Tails just been the flip so far for Alex. Still has 2 Fusion Strike systems to use, deciding to utilize this to draw up. Not finding anything of real use at this point, and it might be the Forest Seal Stone, but the problem too is you play this Forest Seal Stone, you find Path, but there's no out to bump that Path with Lost Vacuum the following turn.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen Alex bench the Manaphy just to draw extra cards here. I know it's not a Fusion Strike Pokemon, so it doesn't boost your draw that way, but it thins a card out of your hand, so you might as well do it. Maybe thinking that that one extra card, that one prize card given to Piper could make her prize map a little easier. That might be what he's playing around here, but his win con, I think, is pretty straightforward. He kept the Echoing Horn around, going to go for the knockout here on Drapion and then try to Echoing Horn boss it next turn. Another reason he was probably trying to save Forest Seal Stone, because that makes that combo a lot easier.
Very easy. Well, does have to utilize it here, finding the Path to the Peak, putting it into play, shutting off all abilities, including the Radiant Charizard. Will be unable to attack this turn. Even something like that to put damage in play, there's no Mew V down. Radiant Charizard does have 160 HP, so it's a lot harder to knock out with something like Psychic Leap. Alex doing everything he can, finally putting the Path to Peak down into play, not giving Piper that easy option. Cross Fusion Strike, copying Techno Blast, taking the knockout. And the question here, does Piper have Clara plus the Counter Stadium in the deck? She is playing 2 copies of Beach Court and the Magma Basin, on top of that 1 copy of Lost Vacuum. So we haven't seen any Stadium cards come down so far, so those are all still available in the deck.
For now, it will just be Nestball grabbing the Cramorant out. I think she's thinking, worst case scenario, I can go in with this and then force my opponent to go for Psychic Leap next turn, which Psychic Leap now would not KO Cramorant. I think Alex is down 3 power tablets if I've been keeping track correctly. So that's not going to be an option to get the knockout on Cramorant. And it's going to be flower selecting here for Piper. Let's see what she can get. Needs a way to move this Comfey at least.
Finds Beach Court, putting Sableye away. And do you play this Beach Court down? Do you value hitting with Cramorant over giving your opponent the counter state? It is one of those risks. Your opponent may have high probability of playing Echoing Horn and giving them that option. It just feels so risky, in my opinion, to play this down. I guess just going to go for this here. I mean, if you have a switching card in your hand, maybe this is a good play to give yourself the one chance to find Clara, but it looks like all these Sableyes go to Lost Zone, and it's just going to be a pass over.
Alex Mcneill has the Echoing Horn in hand, has the double Turbo Energy, does not yet have the boss or the damage modifier. Those are the 2 pieces needed here in order to close this out. And with this hand, Ethan, I actually don't even think that he can thin down in order to dig. He's got Judge, Mew V, 2 VIP pass.
You can draw 2 cards here, but the risk is if you play this Echoing Horn and you don't find boss, you gave your opponent one of the 2 pieces they need to win this game.
Yeah, so I think I like the decision here. It looks like what Alex is going to do at least. Oh, is he going to go for it?
I feel like it's so risky.
Oh, man.
Let's see it.
He's going for the Echoing Horn, bringing the Drapion out into play, and he's putting it on himself this turn to find the pieces he needs. He needs to find, off of this, if he can find like an Ultra Ball to just thin his hand down, he can draw more cards. There's a lot of good cards here. Let's see what he gets. It's a double Turbo. He can't play that. He already attached for turn.
What do you do in this position? Do you retreat into Genesect and hope your opponent can't knock it out? Do you play Judge? You're going to give your opponent a whole more cards to work with.
More cards to work with now for Piper, and the Drapion is in play. So Alex, this turn now, after what just happened, he's pretty much forced into Psychic Leap, KO this Comfey, and then send up a Genesect, right?
But he can't even Psychic Leap. His bench is full of Genesect.
Oh, right, yeah. No Mew V in play, of course. So, yeah, it's going to have to be, like you said, I guess a retreat and a pass into a Genesect. That's probably his best move.
If there's a boss's orders and a damage modifier next turn, that seems like the only potential thing that you could do. Can still draw some cards here with Fusion Strike system. Work the hand up a little bit, but it's just being flooded with these supporter cards. Does find the Lost Vacuum, playing Cramomatic, discarding it. Does finally flip heads. This could find the path to the peak, have
Yeah.
that as the potential option, but you did just get rid of that Lost Vacuum. There's only one more in the deck. You can draw one more card with Fusion Strike System. I mean, do you even just take the knockout on this Comfey and hope your opponent doesn't have the Stadium card? I feel like that's just a little bit too risky at this position.
Yeah, I think it is a little too risky, and especially because Piper has things like Raihan, potentially, if she's got another copy of that card. We know she only has one, but she could be playing two. There's just so many ways that she could find a Stadium card. Even the Lost Vacuum gets rid of this path to the peak. We'll draw one more card here before putting the Stadium into play. It's a Nest Ball unthinnable card as the bench is full. Has Piper potentially found a path into this game, Ethan? Let's see what Alex is going to do.
Playing the path to the peak down, going into this Genesect and passing the turn over. Does Piper have Boss's Orders and a Stadium card that would allow this Comfey to retreat out of the active spot as well? This is an interesting choice. The Psychic Energy guarantees the pivot, but that Pokegear is oh so tempting to try and find Boss's Orders. It is going to be the Escape Rope first, so pretty sure we'll just see the other Genesect come into the active spot. One more Flower Selectings can be used. 5 cards in hand here for Alex, and if Piper can find something like the Counter Stadium, no, it's just a Nest Ball and Battle Pass. None of those cards are really beneficial for her in this position.
Can play the Nest Ball to at least thin a Pokemon out maybe before going for the Pokegear. Instead, it will be the Colress. So I think she's knowing, hey, I'm not going to get the knockout this turn. Just looking here hopefully for a Stadium card. Was not able to find it, it looks like.
No longer needing that Clara. Has the Drapion already out into play. Now finally playing this Nest Ball.
Oh, are we going to see Mawile? I think we're going to see Mawile, Ethan. Tempting Trapped. Going to lock this Genesect up for a turn and hope Alex does not have a switching card. Alex only has one way out of this, and it is the Penny that he plays one single copy of.
Would be the risk for sure, but your opponent just played Colress. They saw so many cards. It is risky to do essentially what you did last turn. Switch card being played, putting this Mawile into the active, and in the matchup we don't see Tempting Trap really here for. It's working out, not allowing Genesect to retreat. It will take 90 more damage the following turn, but it really is that main thing, keeping it there. But we see the Penny in hand for Alex. I feel like you've got no other choice than to pick this up and hope your opponent doesn't have the Counter Stadium.
But if Alex just picks this, I think Alex actually can't play Penny and pick this up because he can't Penny plus Boss at the same time. So this is actually really smart here from Piper. Using this Tempting Trap, she can just kind of wait and play this waiting game until she eventually finds the pieces you need in order to replace the Stadium and Boss to close the game out. Now, the other side of this, though, is if Alex has Switch Cart left or an Escape Rope, that's an easy way out of this Tempting Trap. But the way his hand is mapped out right now, he just does not have that option.
I think you have to take another turn off here, play the Judge, hope your opponent doesn't have Counter Stadium plus Boss, and look for that combination the following turn. Playing the Shuffle Roulette, in and out, shuffling the hands back in. And here we go. 4 cards for both these players. Piper still looking to find those Stadium cards left in the deck.
Yeah, and it is Alex's own path to the peak here that is going to slow him down as well, as he's not going to be able to draw with Fusion Strike System on the other end of this Judge.
Alex still does have that one copy of Lost Vacuum.
Does find Escape Rope.
The Escape Rope. Do you go for this now, or do you try and wait? I mean, there's no card that will potentially bump path the following turn. He's just going to pass and try to wait for this combination.
And Piper draws Boss for turn. Piper has a Boss in hand, has Escape Rope as well. Can she go for the Stadium bump here and find a way to win this one?
How many Stadiums are left in the deck? I think there's 2 left, and that Lost Vacuum can retreat this Mawile for turn, has 2 copies of Escape Rope, so can get 2 Flower Selectings, look at 4 cards here. I think this is gonna be what it comes down to here, Chip.
If Piper can find the Stadium, she can close this game out on this turn, starting with a Pokegear, and this is actually really smart. She's thinning here. She wants to get these supporters out of her deck because she wants to play Boss this turn. She wants to thin as much as possible and not hit this Colress off of a future Flower Selecting. Super heads-up play.
Even so, it feels like we've gone full circle. Piper in a terrible spot to start this game off, but Alex can't even threaten game the following turn.
No.
Piper has turned this around completely. 2 Flower Selectings. Can she find the Counter Stadium card? It is actually just going to be Colress. I think Piper understands that it's so unlikely for Alex to be able to close us out. I'm going to give myself the best chance to win this game. Does actually find the Forest Seal Stone too, so that would guarantee things for Piper the following turn.
Yeah.
Passing things over yet again.
Alex trapping things over.
Trapping things over, right? Making sure this Genesect is not going anywhere.
Alex could theoretically win this turn with Escape Rope plus Boss plus the Power Tablet or the Echo or the Choice Belt, but he just has none of those options available. It's just got to be a Judge once again.
And Piper had the Forest Seal Stone, could have put it down into Drapion. It is a risk, of course. Your opponent's playing lots of copies of Lost Vacuum, but it would almost pretty much get close to securing things up. Now at this point, putting that piece back in the deck, still will draw 4 cards, but Alex is looking to find a combination next turn. That Escape Rope, Boss's Orders, and one of these the modifiers finds the boss, but we're still missing the other 2 pieces.
Yeah, so many pieces that are needed to find here, and he's just got nothing working. It will be a pass over to Piper. What does she have? And the thing is like she can, as long as Alex is not putting on pressure, not taking prizes, which, by the way, he can't do because he knows that that just leaves Genesect up, or that leaves a VMAX up that's easy to KO. Piper is fine taking this slow, going for Tempting Trap turn after turn after turn. Alex is not advancing his hand size. She knows he needs a 3-card combo to pull off the win.
There it is again, trapping this Genesect in the active, unable to move in the face of Mawile. I don't think there's anything Alex could top deck. I think the Lost Vacuum would be the best card. You say, listen, I'm going to give myself one chance to win. I've been putting it on long enough. Let's see what the top deck is. It is the Choice Belt, so that's 2 cards needed. Do you just pass over again? But your opponent's had so much time now to thin their deck out of all the cards they don't need.
I think I like this, which Alex is debating going for. I think he was thinking of going for Penny, right? Because that thins a card out of the hand right now. You could also play the Nest Ball to thin one more card out of your hand so that you're hoping to top deck something next turn in order to just go for game. You're hoping you get another turn at this point. But he's debating actually going for the Boss, maybe trying to stick something active that's a little harder to move, but
it's not great though, right? Everyone has so many switching cards in their deck, and you see him really debating, do I play this Penny? But if this was the play, why not have gone for it turns ago? It just feels like this dilemma that Alex has to think about.
Yeah, and I think at this point, it is going to be the Boss actually, does choose to bring up the Drapion, trying to make it as hard as possible for Piper to pull off the win. What does she have here? It will be Fog Crystal. Searching the deck, is there even a basic Psychic Pokemon left? Looks like one Comfey.
I think those Stadium cards, there's only one in the deck, but does also have the Forest Seal Stone. So the 8 cards in deck, 2 of them are options, and I think she has this almost guaranteed here. Can thin out the Boss's Orders, does have 6 cards, so as long as those 2 cards are not the bottom 2 cards of the deck, as long as Forest Seal Stone and the Counter Stadium are not on the bottom of the deck, Piper will be able to win this game. Escape Rope being played first, so this will bring the other Genesect up to the active spot, and here we go. I mean, Piper would have to get extremely unlucky to somehow not have a way to win this game.
Yes, so several different ways to close it out. Switch card gives her more movability. Roxanne could be another option if she does whiff, though.
There it is. One more Escape Rope, one final Flower Selectings. These have to be the bottom 2 cards of the deck. And
there's
not.
the Magma Basin.
Finds
She's
the
got
Magma
it.
Basin, has the Switch card, bringing Drapion into the active spot, and the Counter Stadium plus Boss. Piper turning things completely around, snatching the game out of what looked to be a horrendous start, tying things up 1-1. There's no time left in this round, but you've got to look at it from her perspective. She at least found a way to get a match point out of what looked to be a terrible series for her to start.
And the look on her face says it all. She got away with one in that game, was able to pull it off, and found a way to fight back, tying up this series. And with just 3 minutes left, it's pretty unlikely that this game is going to conclude. We could see some unlucky starts from one of our 2 players maybe, but that is pretty unlikely for both of these decks. They are so consistent. We'll see what happens, though. Piper Lepine, I mean, what a set there. What a game to just fight back, keep her composure. She started Manaphy and passed to start turn 1, Ethan, and found a way to win it.
That is a game to look at if you ever look at reasons to never give up in the Pokemon TCG. I feel like it's been a while since I've seen a game like that where things started so terribly, and this format is so quick-paced, it's so back and forth. Things go so fast. If you miss one step, you lose a lot of games. And Piper finding a way to at least get a match point out. I'm trying to think if there's a scenario with +3 turns where she can potentially win. I guess if you Drapion on turn 1, then play it a Clara, then I guess that's a way to win. So
that might be what she has to go for. Yeah, honestly, we'll see if she makes that adjustment and does go that route. That's a lot of search cards in the prizes for Piper, by the way. 2 Fog Crystal and Nest Ball and that Hisuian Heavy Ball. Over on Alex's side, nothing too bad. That 2 copies of Power Tablet, could definitely come up.
Alex starting with Battle VIP Pass in hand yet again, also with that Feather Ball. So plenty of these Fusion Strike system Pokemon will hit the field. Turn 1, tried and true. And what a set this has been. Back and forth, but it seems like as long as Mew VMAX is a deck, as long as Mew exists, Drapion will be knocking on the door saying, listen, you can't have your fun without me. I'm here to crash your party.
So Piper could win in 3 turns. It is possible, though unlikely. So it would involve her taking a turn before time is called and getting it completed, and Alex being turn 0. If Alex is turn 0, Piper gets turn 1 and turn 3. So if she, before time is called, is able to get into Drapion, take a one-hit knockout, take 2 prize cards, as Alex has now, put 4 Fusion Strike Pokemon in play, Piper could then, on the following turn, Clara, Drapion once again, and then close out the game with Clara, Drapion, or a boss and a Radiant Charizard. It's a lot to ask for, and it might not matter if Alex's turn takes another 90 seconds. We'll see what happens, though, Ethan. That, I think, is her one chance, though. Oh, and he does pass. Okay.
Okay. Well, Piper playing this super fast. Actually checking the deck. Looks like grabbing Comfey instead of Drapion. I guess there is technically a way. Is there ever a way you lose the game by going aggressive and grabbing Drapion? I don't think Alex can take.
No, not 6 prizes
to win.
Yeah. It does totally depend on when time is called. And our players don't have like an exact clock in front of them, but I'm sure both kind of have a sense that there's not much time left.
It does have Colress, though. So 5 more cards to look at. Battle VIP Pass can still grab something like Drapion out of the deck.
Yep.
You got to play fast here, though. 50 seconds to complete this turn, take prizes, get everything sorted.
Yeah, she needs to finish this turn before time is called to stand a chance here. And I think she already has Drapion in hand.
All right, can she do this? 40 seconds left, putting Battle Pass away.
Come on, Piper.
I don't need it anymore. Will Drapion come down into play? I think it's just going to be a cram hit instead.
So she's going for the safer route, right? Going for the cram hit. But I think this will ensure a tie for both of our players at this point. If she had gone for the Drapion, there is a chance. And maybe she's worried about the chance that would mean she loses the game if time lasts a little bit too long. So, like I said, our players don't have the exact clock in front of them, so they don't know exactly how much time is left. But I think once the judge says time is called here, our players might just agree to tie because I don't think anyone is going to be able to close it out.
So Alex will be turn 0. Both players will have 2 more turns to complete things out.
There is a chance here. I'm just thinking through things, how this could work. If Alex just puts 2 VMAXs in play, right? That's something that could possibly happen. I think Alex, once time is called, if he takes a moment to think about it, would realize, okay, if I just put 2 VMAXs in play, that's my opponent's win condition. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Piper might not want to take the tie right here because she might give her opponent an opportunity to put 2 VMAXs in play and find a way for her to win the game.
Both players will play things out. Of course, Mew VMAX coming into play on the bench. Fusion Strike system, and there is that escape rope. So Alex, interestingly enough, will take prizes. I feel like if I'm in this position, I just pass with Genesect in the active. It feels like you can only lose this game. There's no way to win. But Alex, maybe playing this game out, seeing how things would have normally gone.
Yep.
Still drawing cards. Fusion Strike system. UV coming down into play.
We do have confirmation Alex is indeed turn 0. So we are in +3 turns. Piper will be turn 1, Alex turn 2, and Piper turn 3. And at that point, if no one has satisfied any of the win conditions in the game, this match will end in a tie.
Cramomatic flipping heads, getting rid of that lost vacuum. And it is going to be Path to the Peak, so Alex is going to
make it as hard as possible.
Make it saying, listen, if you find Drapion this turn, good for you, right? I'll at least give you a little bit of a challenge to do as we're playing out essentially meaningless turns in time, as long as Alex doesn't force feed the win to Piper in this situation.
Still a little bit more drawing to do. Fusion Strike system getting 3 cards. There is an Ultra Ball. Do we see a second VMAX come down, Ethan?
Listen, you might just put into play and say, if you're better than me, if you have the pieces, you know what, you deserve to win this game.
Even if Alex did that, it is so unlikely that Piper could pull that off. And I think, okay, this almost certainly seals it up here. Alex recognizing, I'm not going to give my opponent a chance to take 3 prizes. This game's going to end in a tie. So that's super heads up, and a decision I like to see there from Alex that turn.
Playing it out, though, Piper will continue to get these cards in the loss zone. Colress's Experiment being played. Sableye coming down, retreating into Cramorant, dealing damage, and I think Alex can just draw past the turnover, and what a crazy set this has been. Back and forth. Alex's deck stayed consistent, pretty true to the point. At the end of that game 1, though, things back and forth and dicey, and players getting confirmation here. Alex will be turn 2, and tie between these players this early on, but what a great match this has been to showcase.
Yeah, this has been a wild one for sure. I think Alex just got confirmation he is indeed turn 2. I thought he was going to just pass back, but looks like we're going to still play it out. We're going to see what happens. I think obviously if this game was not in turns, Alex would have never just retreated and passed last turn, right? He would have taken a knockout, would have Psychic Leaped maybe even just to shuffle in and see what would have happened. So it's not even like a situation of, see, if this game had played out, I think I would have won, because the players have played differently, right?
Yeah, of course, every situation you're going to be essentially influenced to play in a different way, and time is no different. Got to play more aggressive. You've only got these last couple of turns to play things through. Alex playing Judge, so both players shuffling in, maybe looking for some of those power tablet to Psychic Leap and put this out of play, really denying Piper any opportunity to take prizes in these last couple of turns, but just going to be copying Psychic Leap, not even taking the knockout onto Cramorant, 50 damage, shuffling it back in, and this is the final turn for Piper. Doesn't matter if you take any prize cards, you got to take all 6 if you want to win this third game.
Looks like Clara will be the grab off of Pokegear. Players are realizing nothing really to do here. We can't win, neither of us, so it is going to end in a tie.
Great match. Really reflects on the power of both of these decks, but more so, it felt like a runway, like a fashion show for Drapion V to showcase how it can be utilized in so many different ways, closing the game out, taking knockouts on the Mew V, and more so, how important it is to have those stadium cards to bump past the peak. It feels like the more Lost Zone wins, the more a lot of these other decks